Hello and welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with WB. In this episode, which is number 44, I'm having a guest who has been a part of the Indian team and who's also been employed with the Air Force. So you can very well imagine the kind of intelligence that she has and the intelligence that she employs in her cricket as well. It's none other than Shikha Pandey, who obviously has been meted out with some indifferent treatment by the selectors. But however, she is always one who's taken it on the chin and moved along. It's my great pleasure to introduce Shikha Pandey to you. Of course, everybody is aware of what she is, and as usual, I'm hoping to have a very enterprising and entertaining conversation with her. Welcome, Shikha. How are you?
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm good, sir. I hope all's well with you as well.
Let's go back in time and we'll start from there. We'll come to where you are today. How much of Karimnagar do you remember, if at all?
I do remember. So all my cricketing, gully cricket started in Karimnagar. I was there till I was 8. I understood a lot of Telugu, spoke Telugu as well. I don't speak Telugu as much now, but I have huge childhood memories about how I started playing cricket. I had a very nice bunch of boys and girls that I used to play cricket alongside. One thing that I'll always remember about Karimnagar is you were never distinguished, you were never differentiated about being a girl or a boy. So we would just be all together. Evening, 4 o'clock, get together, play a lot of sports, not just cricket. We have played a lot of other games as well. So the time from 4 to 7 would just pass by as if it was just 5 minutes.
The frequent relocations brought about by your father's job transfer, did it help you or did it unsettle you?
I think I would say it helped me a lot in understanding people. I had to get acquainted to a different set of people altogether. Father is a retired teacher now. He used to teach in Kendra Vidyalayas. So most of my life I've stayed in Goa, even though I've changed 2 schools in Goa, but mostly it's been we've been in Goa for 25 years now. So it's been a lot of life lessons, I would say, trying to relocate and then get to know people, trying to understand how to settle down. So it's been a learning experience, I would say.
Adaptability is a buzzword these days in cricket. So along those lines, you are helped by the frequent transfers, is it?
I hoped I could have gotten better at adapting when it comes to cricket. But yes, I would say the cricket has taught me a lot in terms of life, by cricket being the teacher in terms of learning how to adapt, PR skills as well, for that matter. So yes, it's both ways. I would say it's mutual.
You and I are far removed from the Priya skills, Shika, I'll assure you on that.
Yes.
How did you get interested in cricket in the first place?
Sir, it's pretty much same to every household in India. Father was an avid cricket fan. He would tell me stories about how he heard the 1983 World Cup win over the transistor. He would say that he would miss classes, or he would follow a lot of test cricket that India played during those times on the transistor. So it was more about father being very interested in cricket. I remember when we were in Karimnagar, going to a native place in April and May was not feasible. It used to be really hot in Uttar Pradesh. So I would spend a lot of time playing with my father because lot of my other friends also weren't there. So he would give me catches. We would count till when I would drop a catch. So we've gone till 1,000 catches at a go. So it's all about that. Father being a huge fan of cricket was the reason why I started playing cricket. And when I had my peers to play alongside, he would never be there in the picture. But otherwise, he was my buddy. He would be playing alongside me. So it was more about him being interested in cricket, cricket being on the telly all the time that we got a television at home. So it was my father all the more.
Goa is generally a laid back place. By this, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm going to put them down, I'm putting them down. But how did your propensity to strive not get diluted there?
Uh, I didn't really understand the question.
No, I said Goa is a laid back place.
Okay,
I'm
Goa.
not criticizing anybody from Goa. I'm, I just am curious to know how is it that your propensity to strive hard to get where you got in life not get diluted?
I would say so. When I started playing cricket, for everyone who's listening to this, I actually started training to become a cricketer pretty late in my life. I started training under a seasoned ball coach when I was 18. And I had a very good peer group along with me. There were these girls from the St. Xavier's College. I was doing my engineering, so I started playing in my second year of engineering, and I had a very good peer group. So it was more about having fun with the friends that I had. A lot of competitions going around. Let me get you out twice in the nets, and all of those things going around. So it was more about that. So I would say the peer group that I had was very competitive. I didn't really get out of that peer group as much. So that's one thing. Also, if I was spending some time, I wanted it to be quality time. I wanted to be the best that I could because I was spending so much time away from engineering, and I was making time for cricket. So it was more about that. Also, I think the other challenge that I felt about being playing cricket in India was cricket is never the first sport in Goa. It's always football. So initially, when I started playing cricket, we would just have like 15 girls who would come in for selections and all 15 getting selected. So it was more about that. So the competition was more towards getting a lot more, many more girls playing cricket. And I had a very good coach when I kind of played for Goa the first time over, Anil sir, and then Nitin sir. So he would literally call me. He knew that I was very studious, so he would tell me to come and practice with the boys then. And it was then that I played the first challenges for India. So I would say that I got very good mentors at the right time in my life, and they kind of pushed me always. They kept a check on what I was doing.
The desire to excel, is it inherent or were you pushed into excelling?
Sir, I would say it was inherent because as a kid growing up, my father, he himself was a teacher. So if I was not doing well in studies, I would kind of sit back and listen to all his stories. We come from a very humble background. My mother also used to teach when we were in Karimnagar. So it was when I would hear those stories, I would actually understand that I'm very blessed in a lot of ways. And that kind of pushed me to get better. My father always says that he would want to see both his daughter do well and not be where he is. So that was one of the reasons why he pushed us. He would tell us that we were allowed to do anything that we wanted of our interest after finishing our studies. So for him, studies always came first. And I'm also a stout believer of the fact that education is something that's going to stay with me till the time I live. I'm going to be an active cricketer for a certain years in my life. So that's one thing that my father always taught me. And because he was a teacher, I always had to study well because then the other teachers would tell him that I wasn't studying. So studies was the priority growing up. But then, like I said, if I was spending a chunk of my time into something, I would want to be the best, which literally has changed a lot. I've had very good conversations to you also about it. So it's not about perfection anymore. It's just about looking out for excellence. And perfection is something that I probably will not be able to achieve. So it's just about excelling.
Education always came first. That's something that we always see happening in South. Cricket had to take a backseat even in your case when you want to complete engineering. Now, how much adverse impact did it have on your cricket?
So from the second year when I started playing cricket, actually studies took the back seat. I would say in the first year I was the topper in the college, but from the second year onwards, I just aimed to write all my papers and all of that. I just played 1 year of under 19 cricket, and I remember leaving six papers altogether. So I literally had 10 papers to write the next time over. By that time, cricket bug had actually bitten me, and I had Purnima Rao, who was the then India selector. She called me and she said, "If you're so good, why don't you dedicate more time towards playing cricket?" I would still think that being a professional cricketer, it is rather difficult to be a professional degree holder as well. I have cursed myself a lot on the way about thinking about taking cricket, about choosing cricket and engineering at the same time. So I would say at different stages of my life, it's about cricket taking priority. There was a lot of juggling happening. engineering taught me time management. So along the way, I would say if I had just taken any other degree, I would be able to spend a lot more time in cricket. But I don't really repent any of it because I'm the person I am. It's because of both the things that I did.
Now I'm getting to the interesting part. Refusing job offers from top companies was not a norm then, wasn't it? Did you have to hear a few words from your family and friends about it?
Friends a lot. I had the placement officer literally called me and said, please don't sit in any more placement exams because what I hear is you're not interested in any of them. So just don't sit in them and, get the job offer and then you're anyways not going to take the job. It was uh, like I said, so by the time I was in my fourth year, I thought that I could play cricket and I could play cricket at a decent level. By then, I had understood that I had potential probably because of not many people telling that to me. And my sister, there's a very interesting story here. My sister, she's 2 years older to me. She works for Deloitte. She's a software engineer, and she wanted to become a doctor. But management quota was out of picture for us because obviously we didn't have that kind of money. So she had to take up engineering. And she kind of came to my rescue and she persuaded my parents and said, I was not able to pursue my dream. Let her do it because she wants to become a cricketer and let's see how it goes. And by then she was also earning. So during my first year of Air Force as well, when I joined Air Force, I used to get a stipend, but she never let me spend that stipend. She would send me money. So she was the one who was instrumental in me being able to pursue my dream. If it wasn't for her, I don't think it would be easier for me to persuade my parents. My parents, like I said, we come from a middle class family, and for them, getting a job was the priority at that time.
Refusing a job and hearing a mouthful from every quarter is something that I've gone through as well. In fact, I finished my 12th. I refused a job offer from Reserve Bank of all places those days, mind you. So I can understand what it was all about. Now, at any stage where you sort of gave up the offers for jobs and wanting to get into Air Force, was there a stage you doubted that you may not get into Air Force?
So after I finished my engineering, this was in 2010. I took a year off, like I said. I did really well in that domestic season. I can vouch for it. There was the first NCA camp for women, which I was part of. The first ZCA, I played for South Zone, and then I got into the NCA camp based on the selected 30 from all the zones. And I thought I did decently well in the whole of that season, played for Goa. But then there was India team touring England and I didn't make the team. And then I was actually heartbroken. And then I was 20, I was 20, 21. And I thought that this is just that. I mean, I wouldn't be playing cricket anymore. And then I had to oblige my parents. And they said they had heard about services team from the Air Force. And they said, why don't you join Air Force? And probably this is the way ahead. And you might play for India again. So yeah, I did doubt myself. That's the thing with us, all human beings. When things don't go the way we want them to go, we start doubting our abilities and all of that. So at that point, I actually thought that cricket was, I wouldn't be playing cricket anymore once I joined Air Force training.
You got into Air Force, landed the job of an ATC. Was it a high pressure job?
It was so the first month of the first year of training was immense. I mean, I'll never forget. We have a motto of we sing together, we swim together. So I mean, there are so many qualities that I have imbibed by the training in Air Force, and I actually took ATC because fighter controllers were posted to rural parts of India. I mean, places where you wouldn't be able to travel and reach. So I actually took ATC thinking I can probably be in good cities and still could continue playing cricket. So that was the reason why I chose
Who
ATC.
doubted your intelligence?
I I also wanted to become a pilot, sir, but certainly that did not come through. And I thought ATC was the closest to being in operations and everything. Not many people know, but I actually had not cleared my medicals, which is such a big thing in Air Force. in all of the services for that matter, I was permanently rejected because the make of my heart is different. So we literally, my father was like, "You are an athlete, how can that happen?" and all of that. So we kind of fought against the permanent rejection, and that's how I got into ATC. I was literally told that if I don't take this job, I there was no surety that I would get any other job in the armed forces.
ATC, by the way, is air traffic controller. Now, how different is that in the Air Force to that of a commercial job?
So ATC is basically, there are two type of controllers in ATC. One is the aerodrome controller, the tall buildings that we see next to the airports. That they are the aerodrome controllers, where a lot of visual controlling takes place. And there are radar controllers which are underground. The controllers sit in underground cabins, and they do a lot of controlling that happens in between the airports. It's a very difficult job, and the difference in military ATC and the commercial ATC is the kind of aircrafts we control. So in military ATC, you have all the fighter aircraft. My first posting was Air Force Base, which had three fighter aircrafts, and Bisons were among one of them. And I used to go early in the morning and be there because I was kind of an undertraining flying officer. I had to be there all the time, trying to learn everything that I could, hands-on job learnings. So it was very difficult for me. I mean, three fighter squadrons, plus there would be a lot of helicopter squadrons which would come on detachment. So life was very hectic back then, and cricket was nowhere in my thinking at that time when I was posted there.
Cricket was nowhere then, but came 2014. The ultimate happens. You make your debut. Talk us through that.
Uh, I I would just like to mention here that a lot of time you don't realize how things fall in place for you, and you're there at the right time at the right place. So in 2010, when I did the NCA camp, the administrative manager of NCA was Wing Commander Jha. He was a services player, and he was the administrative manager there. And he got to know about me, that I was joining Air Force and all of that. And when I was then in the probables for the 2014 World Cup, he was the one who put in a lot of word. Air Commodore Baladitya, who was the who retired as an air vice marshal, was with the Indian men's team. So he got to know about me. And I should mention this: Air Force Sports Control Board, Services Sports Control Board, literally bend their rules, because even now we do not have officers recruitment in sports. It's the men's recruitment, the airmen. There are two cadre. So all of those people literally vouched for me, and they said she is an India material and we need to give her enough leave to play and all of that. And that's how in 2014 I debuted for India. And to be directly picked for the World Cup was a huge matter of confidence for me myself. And we did play a bilateral series against Bangladesh, but it was predominantly a World Cup that I debuted in. So it was like I said before, that I didn't think that I would play cricket once I got to the Air Force Base that I was talking about, but I was very fortunate with so many people there, and it's because of them that I could don the blue uniform, and I was a proud owner of the blue jersey as well.
Your parents did not squash your cricketing ambitions, did they?
No, to be honest,
They guided you in the right way, Shikha. What are you complaining
uh, to be very honest, they were the ones. They were the reason why I could actually continue playing cricket through my engineering. So I have no complaints there. I still remember Papa used to be the one who would get up in the morning and make the bed tea, and he would be the last one when I would go to sleep at 12 o'clock after finishing my engineering assignments. He would be awake with me. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have played cricket during my engineering days. So yes, the support that I got, and I feel very fortunate because I've heard stories of so many other girls who did not get the support that they should get, and that they are very talented. I have had friends who have literally left cricket because they haven't gotten the kind of support that I got from my family. So that was very blessed.
You made an impactful debut in Test cricket. Enjoyed that high pressure drama and the partnership with Mithali Raj.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So as a kid growing up, there used to be a lot of one-day cricket, but I was a huge fan of Test match cricket. I during my 10th standard exams, I have gotten early in the mornings to watch the Ashes. I mean, that's something that Even when India used to tour Australia, getting up early in the morning, that used to be a routine. I mean, get up in the morning, watch and study as well, side by side, a little, just to show my father. But then watching Test match cricket, my friends would get bored about what is this? They're defending. But I literally love Test match cricket. And for me to be able to play a test in the same year that I debuted for India, nothing could be better than that. Yeah, and also because we were a team which had 8 debutants, we literally had a mass cap distribution ceremony. So for us to be having 8 debutants and defeating a team like England that one-off test in Wormsley was a brilliant feeling.
After such an impactful debut, both in the ODI and Test cricket, one would have expected your career would have soared like one of the Air Force jets, but unfortunately it didn't. Any specific reason?
A lot many people actually do not know that I went to the 2014 tournament that we are talking about, the whole series of 3 ODIs test match and one of T20. Went in as a replacement. And for me to just walk in and play in the 11 itself was a huge achievement, I would say. But then somehow I felt at that time being, uh, to be very honest, I was 24, so people thought that I was very mature and all of that, which was I was off the field. But actually speaking, I had just played 6 years of cricket, and that's one thing that I think didn't work for me. There are so many cricketers who get into cricket when they are 10, 11. There are different issues of them being exhausted by the time they're 18. I do acknowledge that. But for me, I was someone who started playing cricket when I was just 18 and then debuted for India. So I thought there were lot many parts of cricket of my own game that I didn't really understand. Even now, there are so many things about my batting and my bowling that I actually understood when I was 28, 29. And I sometimes feel that if I had started playing cricket earlier, I would have that understanding of my game way earlier, maybe when I was 20, 23, 24. So yeah, things didn't really work out like you said. But like I am someone who believes in putting in 100% efforts. I would want to be the most hardest working player on the team, and I take pride in that.
This is where we come to the conclusion of part one. Obviously, it's never boring talking to Shikha. Stay with us and we'll get back with more stuff on the other side and also in part two as well.